Uh, Hey guys, let's try to understand what is deep copy. So uh, wh- before starting this video, I would like to suggest you that if you haven't seen the video on cello copy, then please go and check the video on cello copy because in that we had actually explained what do you mean by deep copy, what do you mean by a cello copy in a more fundamental way with some slides and all. So I would suggest before if you don't know what is deep copy, then go and see that video on cello copy in which we are actually explain the concept of what do you mean by cello and deep copy. All right, so let's try to code this question. Here the question is pretty much the same as previous cello copy. The only difference is here we need to implement a deep copy. So all the variables, all the class names you will find pretty much same. Alright, so here if we read the problem description, then we're giving two classes. One is the header, one is the packet ID, which are having these two fields. This is same as the previous this is same as the previous class as well. You are just supposed to implement a copy inside packet, so it returns a brand new packet with the same values, including a brand new header inside it. See here, your idea is just to have a deep copy. When I say deep copy, you just need to make sure that this diagram you need to implement via some code. What does that mean is when you do call that copy method, then it should create two different headers of the HDR which would be pointing to the two different memory locations. So when you call a copy method, two different headers would be created and not a same header would be created like cello copy. Here a same header is there. You can say which is sharing uh, at address A. Here are two different objects are created and which are shared with the representative object, that is P1 and P2. So here uh, we we are also given some examples of how it should look like. So here ID is 1, sequence ID is 10, protocol is again AXI, and when you do P2 equals to P1 dot copy, and then P2 is now 1 definitely because it is copied, and sequence ID is 10, protocol ID is again AXI. So this basic copy method is same until here all the fields are copied, that is sequence ID will be 10 because here the sequence ID was 10, and for P2 the protocol would be also AXI. But the most important part is if you change the value of sequence ID, that is this sequence ID, via P2, then the value of P1 is unaffected. That is, let's say if you change the value of this sequence ID via P2 object to 99, then if you just print the value of P1.hdr.sequence ID, it should be 10 that you updated here. And it should not be 99, which is still the same. So the only work if copy creates a new header. So this is the whole idea. We need to implement this now in our code. We need to implement this copy method. So let's try to code this. Here we would be again taking a just declaring this packet and just creating the value of packet and naming as temp and just allocating just memory to this. Now if you want to just copy the first thing is you just need to copy the ID, this dot ID. This is same as previous one. You just copy the value of this ID to this temp dot ID. And now you will be copying the value of temp dot HDR. So in seller copy, what we have did is we have done this dot HDR. But here if you do this here, if you do this, then the location would be said, and this would be a shadow copy. So we don't need to do this. Instead, we need to do a deep copy, which means there should be two separate locations. This dot HDR, and you just return the value of temp here. Right. Okay, all right. We are facing some compile issues. Let's try to fix that. So this is eventually we are trying to do deep copy, which means it seems our all the test cases pass. So what here I'm just trying to understand. I'm just trying to explain you how it worked. The temp dot address, and you can say this dot address, like, okay, you can just consider that this is a syntax of kind of how we do deep copy. You can just treat the syntax in that way. So whenever you want to do a deep copy, you just generally do, you need to use this new keyword. So when you use this new keyword, it allocates two different memory locations, and this would, so when you do this, this.hdr is nothing but this, and you're copying it to HDR, this temp.hdr. But this won't be said. This would, there would be a two different location created, and this, uh, as we just discussed here, there will be two different locations created, and if you change sequence ID from one of them, and then the other sequence ID won't be reflected. So if you see the test case as well here, all the test cases passed, and we have written the test cases to make sure that whatever we are trying to verify is verified and the code written is correct. So this is how a deep copy works, and I would also say that generally this copy methods like deep copy and shallow copy sometimes also asked in interview. So it's always good to have the understanding of how this copy method works at the fundamental level. And also one thing I like to highlight is shallow copy and deep copy is exactly the same if there is no nested classes. So let's assume if there is no line number 31, sorry, if there is no line 13, what does that mean is if there is no nested classes, then shallow copy and deep copy is exactly same, because the only difference in shallow copy and deep copy is only when there is a this class inside a class. But if there is no class inside a class, then the output of both the shallow copy and deep copy is anyway same. So just make sure that it only makes sense to for this to copy method if you have nested class. So alright, that's all for this video. I hope you understand this concept, and try to solve this question by your like using some another approach as well. You can also try to understand this concept in a more deeper way. I would suggest you also try to understand this concept via some free websites. We have like uh, verification guide or chip verify, so that would also help you to understand in a much more deeper way, and then come here and solve the code, and that would be beneficial for you as well. All right, thanks for watching the video.